It is the day that the NFL draft will begin, and we will get to that today. I'm back today. Nice to see everyone. Hello, Phil Perry. Hello, Nick Cattles in today for Zoe and McCone.
Hello, Beetle.
Gentlemen,
What's up, Beetle?
thanks for being here.
We should be thanking you.
Yeah.
How was vacation?
It was nice.
Feeling rested?
It was
relaxed?
Good. It was, it's a lot when you travel away and you do something, right? It's an effort you've got to make to get there, T-Bone, and it's an effort to get back in time for the draft. An effort, an effort I wanted to make.
True warrior.
I wouldn't say that, Phil. I wouldn't go that far.
Grinder.
I would just say today's the day of the draft. Celtics played a playoff game last night. Professional responsibility to be here for that draft today. That's all.
You couldn't pry me off the beach if that was me. So credit to you, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Let's get into last night's Celtics Game 2 reaction to the game. The story of this game is not the game itself. The story of this game is that the Celtics star, Jayson Tatum, did not play in this game due to a bone bruise. That's the story coming out of this game. And I have questions about it. Would he have played if the game was of more significance? Would he have played if this was the Eastern Conference Finals or NBA Finals? And if that answer is yes, which I personally, my opinion, think it is, then why not play him last night against the Orlando Magic and prove that you're going to play through anything and you're not going to let the Magic, in their physical style of play, knock you out of this series even for a game? Why not? Why did he not play?
Could tell you exactly why.
Go ahead.
Do they need him?
No.
Would maybe rest for something like a bone bruise improve the bone bruise over time?
Yes, it would. I won't even argue
sure
otherwise.
Would. All right, so let's just keep it simple, stupid. Let's just keep it simple. If you don't need the guy and time off would help, you are going to need him later. They can't beat the Cavs without Jayson Tatum at something close to 100%. They can't win the finals without Jayson Tatum at something close to 100%. Especially because even though Jaylen Brown looked fantastic last night, especially late as the game went on, I worry about his knee moving forward the longer this playoff run goes. So do whatever you can now to get Jayson Tatum the time he needs to be at his best later. I was completely okay with him not playing last night. And I think the results speak for themselves.
Where do you draw the line on that? Should he play in Game 3 or should he sit?
I'd set him another one.
So you wouldn't bring
him another
back?
one? Nope.
Yeah, why would you have urgency?
Can't the same be said of Jaylen Brown right now?
They're different injuries. And I'm not a doctor, so don't ask me how to handle a bone bruise versus an impingement versus whatever it is that Jaylen Brown is dealing with.
I know you're not a doctor. I know that. But here's the difference for me between the two injuries. Because I was saying a week ago, if you can afford to give Jaylen Brown rest early on, you should do it, which I think that they should. Right, in terms of limiting how much he's playing and managing that injury better, the way they shut him down at the end of the regular season. That was smart because that is an injury that I don't think is going to go away. That injury also wasn't a result of the way the Orlando Magic wanted to play in this series against the Celtics, which, by the way, is going to make this, even though it's going to be a sweep, far more interesting and has already made it more interesting. The level of physicality in this series over 2 games has made it interesting in something that would otherwise be garbage. First round layup matchup for the Celtics to sweep the Magic and move on. This has made it somewhat interesting. But that injury is just a result of what went on in the regular season. Jayson Tatum's injury is a direct result of the Magic in Game 1. And there's something to coming out and playing last night that, hey, a message to the Magic, message to any other team, you're not going to beat us this way. You're not going to take out our best player playing the way that you played in Game 1. We're not going to allow for it. We're going to play through it. We're a tough team. I thought there could have been a message sent last night by Jayson Tatum.
This is what makes me
lost
involved.
An opportunity.
This is what makes me an evolved individual, Beetle. I'm beyond the optics that you're describing there. I don't care.
The NBA is an optics
I don't
league,
care about
friend.
the optics. What I care about is having your best player healthy for the games you need him most. And to me, it's a very simple equation. You can beat the Magic without Jayson Tatum. You could sweep the Magic without Jayson Tatum. You're not beating the Cavs without Jayson Tatum at something close to 100%. I'm sorry, but the memories of the Golden State Warriors finals from a few years ago, When Jayson Tatum dealt with a wrist injury and was not himself and clearly wasn't good enough to get them where they needed to be, that still lingers in the back of my brain. And so if that's going to happen again this year, they're going to lose again. The only way is through the Cavs, through OKC, whoever else it is, and that's when you need them. It's not right now.
Play through the bumps and bruises.
But here's what I'll say.
Rest through the series.
Play through and by the way, I'm a big Tatum guy, huge Tatum defender over the years. I really wanted it for the optics for him because I wanted that sort of moment of, no, he's tough. He's going to play through whatever it is that happens to him. He's tough. He's going to tough it out. He's going to play. And I thought that's the way it would have looked last night.
But that's the way I look at this is you kind of just made the point I was going to make. Tatum's not a guy that sits. He doesn't like sitting. He definitely doesn't love sitting. And I feel like the conversation probably was, look, Jayson, you could play tonight if you absolutely had to play tonight. But if you take a few days off, you're probably good for the rest of this series and the rest of the playoffs. So kind of balance it out. I don't think Tatum's a guy that says, yeah, I'm perfectly fine with sitting in a playoff game. He's never shown that. He's never missed a playoff game. So I don't feel like he's the guy that takes the easy way out and would just be fine with the team pressing on him saying, no, you're going to sit. There's got to be a level of discomfort for him to sit out a playoff game with his history. There has to be.
And you got a moment last night that I think is accomplishing what you wanted Tatum to accomplish, Beetle, which is create the optic of we're not going to be bullied here. You're going to try to bully us. You're going to try to push us around because it's the only way you're going to be able to stay in this series and make it somewhat competitive. And we're not going to allow that to happen. You wanted Tatum to be that guy last night, and it ended up being Kristaps Porzingis. And you got a very colorful, very vivid memory for anybody that was watching or certainly there at the game. The guy's got blood not only dripping down his face, but streaking through his hair. He's coming back onto the floor. Joe Mazzulla's got this crazy look in his eye in the post-game press conference when he's talking about how he thought that was important, which was just such an interesting word for him to use. I can't wait to talk to him later in the show today. How it was important for Kristaps Porzingis to bleed on the floor. So that got accomplished. Those optics that you were looking for got accomplished. They checked that box last night. It just wasn't Tatum who was doing the checking of the box.
His quote was, I love watching him bleed on the court.
Yeah, I think it's important. But what? Why?
Well, I think what he's talking about is an optic of it's important to play right through it and be on the court. And I'm willing to bet, not that Joe Mazzulla will tell us when he joins us at 10:36 in 25 minutes, but I think he would say under the truth serum, man, I wish he'd go out and play tonight. The same way he was yelling at Tatum to get up when he injured the wrist in game one. Get up! Get off the mat! That's what he's yelling at him from the side of the court. He's screaming at him to get up off the floor. Because he wants the optic of Kristaps Porzingis and not the one of Jayson Tatum in a very expensive, classy outfit with his hand bandaged, clapping for the team last night on the bench. I don't think that's the one he's going for. Joe is a big mentality guy.
Okay.
Right? You know that.
I know that. What else is he, though? He's also a big analytics guy. And what do the analytics say about not having your best player at full health as you try to make your way through the NBA Finals? I bet those numbers aren't very good.
So I don't know that Tatum playing last night or playing in game 3 of this series coming up is going to be something that prevents the bone bruise, right? It's not a sprain. Not a sprain as far as we know. Bone bruise.
Bone bruise.
Prevent that from healing or being better in a certain amount of time.
This is why we need a doctor.
Does it need rest or does it just need time?
It's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. All I can tell you is what I read from clevelandclinic.com, which
and
is what we did on the show yesterday.
What do they say?
WebMD.
Clevelandclinic.com says this could last for weeks. And for the more severe bone bruises, it could be even longer than that.
Well, the Twitter doc
1 to 2
got
months.
on this. Twitter doc's got anything on this?
Dr. Chow, where you at?
What's he got to say?
My guess is anytime you're limited, though, and you're talking about something like a wrist for a basketball player, wrists are pretty important. My guess is you don't want to exacerbate that in any way by either favoring it or exposing it to potentially further injury. You don't think the Magic, given the way they've played these first 2 games, you don't think they're going out and they're attacking that thing and maybe trying to hurt him even more? I'm not saying that's a reason you should sit out. That is cowering to your opponent. That is not providing the optic that you're looking for. But to me, what's the point?
Well,
Let's have the bigger picture in mind.
Yeah, Jalen had a bone bruise in his knee. And so I think the answer is if you watch how Jalen looks right now. I mean, you remember that last game against the Knicks before they said, you're not going to play the rest of this regular season. The way he looked with his lack of lateral movement and stuff against the Knicks and the way he's looked the first 2 games of this series, I think it tells us that with some rest, if you're going off of how Jalen's looked, he looks appreciably better. So is it not the better idea to say, listen, Jayson, let's just sit you for a little bit, and you can come back from that bone bruise and look better than anticipated?
Fair point. Although Jaylen Brown missed regular season games and not playoff games.
Right.
I'm thinking that if that knee starts to bother him again, and I'm guessing it will, I don't think he's going to miss any time. And I thought his quote after the game last night saying that when he first arrived in Boston, he said, I'm going to war for this city and nothing has changed, was him saying in a way, I'm out there playing through anything I've got going on. And I'm not saying it's a shot at Tatum. I'm just telling you it speaks to his mentality. And once again, it was in a big sort of spot, a playoff game, not Eastern Conference Finals, not NBA Finals, but a big spot, playoff game. It was Jaylen Brown to the rescue again for the Celtics. And that's becoming a trend. And that was allowed to happen because Jayson Tatum did not play last night. And I'm telling you, if that were a more important playoff game, Tatum's in the game last night. And I wonder if he had gotten up on Sunday when Mazzulla was yelling at him to get up, does he play in that game last night? Does Joe Mazzulla look bad for yelling at him to get up now because he didn't play? And the injury is perceived to be more severe now because he didn't get up?
I don't think so. Although at the time, when we talked about it yesterday, before we knew that he was going to be out, he's just such a lunatic that from 120 feet away, he could have no idea how hurt or not hurt the guy is. He's just going to say what he's going to say.
I know he is.
He is wired in a certain way, and he can't help himself. And I love that about Joe Mazzulla. I like that. I like that he was yelling at him. But it was very obvious. He had no idea how injured the guy was.
There are so few NBA coaches that will do what he did, though.
No question.
And do you know why he yelled get up at him?
Because he's seen it before.
Because he's seen the act with Tatum before when these guys get hurt and they act like they had just been shot on the floor. Like they act like they were just wounded in battle. You know, they just got a bayonet through the chest. Like that's how they act. They go down and they writhe in pain and they go all Paul Pierce and get a wheelchair to take them off the court. Right? It's like soccer. It's what the NBA has become with all these flopping, flailing injuries. So that's why I yelled at him to get up. He had no idea how serious it was. Because it's a boy who cried wolf situation with these injuries. So that's one of the storylines. I think the big one, Tatum didn't play. Jaylen Brown rescued the Celtics again. They go up 2-0. They're on their way to sweeping the Magic. The way they would with or without Tatum, the way they would with or without Brown. But along the way, Kristaps Porzingis provided great entertainment by taking a shot to the face and bleeding all over the place and coming out to take his free throws and getting his stitches, and we'll talk about that coming up. If you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand here. For more Celtics analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.